Hello, YouTube fans. Hey, look, Donkey Kong. Hello, YouTube fans. This is TheSkullKlown. I want to talk about something that there's some people on the internet that are just stupid. That they think of like, hey, if you got inspired by A, B, and C, then that means you are ripping them off. George Lucas wanted to make a Flash Gordon movie. He couldn't. So what did he do? Made his own Flash Gordon. It's called Star Wars. It's the same thing when people talk about, the Rebel Moon movies. When people make fun of it, saying that, oh, this director is making his own Star Wars stuff. Ha ha ha, that's funny. And I'm over here like, something's wrong with you people. That's how I know you guys don't know nothing about the history of movies, dude. If you saw Rebel Moon and the director said that, oh, I'm making my own Star Wars, you have to respect that. He's making his own thing. That's what George Lucas did. He couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon, so he was like, fuck it, I'm making my own Flash Gordon. And I'm guarantee you the director that did Rebel Moon is just like, if I can't do this and this, I'm making my own fucking epic. I don't give a fuck what no one says. I'm making my own story, and I'm putting my heart and soul into it. And I'm gonna like it. If you don't like it, too fucking bad. But the people that see it and know that I put my heart and soul into it are gonna enjoy it. Even if it is battle suck. They're gonna see that, they're gonna look past through the flaws and realize this was a pet project or a love letter to either the director himself or all the love letters that the director grew up with. And that's fine. I'm just using that as an example. It's just that there's so many idiots out here on the internet that are literally like, well, you got inspired by Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, and you made a game that inspired by that. Well, you're just ripping them off. It's like that same old term when if it's a turn-based RPG, oh, it's just like Final Fantasy. No, it's not. Is Shin Megami exactly like Final Fantasy? No, it's not. You're gonna have a bad time if you play Shin Megami and you think you're gonna play like Final Fantasy. You're literally gonna look at Shin Megami and saying that, oh, this game sucks because you don't know how to think. Shin Megami is the most thinking game out there when you're playing it, and that's why I love the game. When there's RPGs that can make you think, especially movies, you can't complain about that. But there's so many people that want to argue about it. Why? Because they don't want to think themselves. You know? And then they don't want to expand them outside of their bubble. When something, I remember watching a video of Nostalgia Critic talking about Kingdom Hearts, and I'm just laughing at him. I'm like, dude, you just remind. I don't want to sound racist or anything, but when I heard him saying about how Kingdom Hearts 1 is, I'm over here laughing. I'm like, you're not disappointing me at all. You're exactly what I thought you was going to say about this game. Because this game is not for you, dude. Yeah, it's okay that you like it and shit like that, but you're going to talk about the norm of what these RPGs do. But yet you're not going to criticize, well, you kind of do sometimes, but you're not going to criticize the norm of what Super Mario Brothers does. It does the same shit. Save the princess, and that's it. There's other games that change the formula, obviously, but mostly it's beat Bowser and save the princess. So that's fine. That formula is fine. But when you get the same formula that you see in anime and they make that into a video game, or they put that type of style into a video game, it's wrong. I know some people always argue saying that, oh, these video games are not anime. And I'm over here like, it has anime art style, but if you compare it to a regular anime show, then of course it's not. But if you're talking about art style, then yes. If you talk about the manga look that you see in Final Fantasy 7 and 8, then of course. You know? And so many things everything that you love was inspired by something. The reason I talk about this too is because some people will even talk about One Piece being a ripoff of something else. And I'm over here like, it was inspired by other things, guys. If you can't see that, then something's wrong with you. It's the same thing with Gear 5. You know why Gear 5 is the way it is? It's because It's because the guy that created One Piece was inspired by Tom and Jerry. So he was like, that stuff that I see in Tom and Jerry, I'm using it for Guild 5 for Luffy. And that's it. And don't get me started of how much hateful people have with Guild 5. Don't get me started with that fucking can of worms for no reason. That type of can of worms doesn't need to be open. You know why? Because that can of worms says, stupid people, please don't open. That's the can of worms that I'm talking about. Right? Everyone has their own little niche. Everyone has their own little things that they like, and that's fine. But imagine something that you like, and then all of a sudden it's buried and changed to the point that it's not even recognizable. That's how I feel with Final Fantasy. That's how many of the Final Fantasy fans feel about Final Fantasy. And then everyone out here that are fucking idiots or newcomers to Final Fantasy are literally like, well, it's going to have to evolve eventually. And I hope Dragon Quest does the same thing, because I'm not going to play it if it doesn't become turn-based. This is the shit I'm talking about. There's other shit. Look at my video game. My video game that I'm making right now, an RPG Maker Fest, right? It was inspired by, hold on, actually, I have the book here. I made my own little manual strategy guide of my game. Because that's how much I'm taking this shit seriously. Seriously, guys, like, this is the passion and the love that I have for this shit. So, the games that inspired my game are Grand Theft Auto, Super Mario 64, Final Fantasy Legends, but also Final Fantasy Legends, Kingdom Hearts, and Dragon Quest. The reason I said Final Fantasy Legends twice is because one for the party memos and the other one for the gameplay. Then I just fit it all in with Kingdom Hearts and Dragon Quest. Then the open world type of platform thing that's in my game was inspired by Conker's Bad Fur Day. Then the random battles that you have was inspired by Pokemon. Yes, in my game, you have to go to a grass field or sand or desert or something, or the woods to go to a fight. Why? The reason I did that in my game is because I was like, you know what? I know a lot of people always complain about, random battles all the time, and I'm over here like, you know what? Let's go to the Pokemon route. Let's have a little grass area, and it's your option to go over there. Because if you want to fight, then you go over there. Instead of just walking around and you get into a random battle. Trust me, I'm an old school type of RPG player. So obviously, I would love that shit up to the moon, because over the years, I became an alcoholic grinder. I can literally play an RPG game and level myself up. Like, I could be in the beginning of an RPG game and level myself up to level 1 all the way up to level 15 in the beginning of the game, before you should even be going to that level. That's how much of an alcoholic grinder I am when it comes to these RPGs. Some RPGs, I level up all the way up to 20 or 25, and then I just go, because that's how much I'm addicted to it. A lot of people are not that, don't like that, obviously. And that's fine. Let's see, Bioshock, another inspiration for my game. The reason I put Bioshock in here was because, you know those little microphone things? Since you have so many party members that you can recruit or put in your party, basically, I will make a video one day showing off my game. But when you pick multiple characters on the screen, on the menu option, basically, the game doesn't really know what character you choose, basically. So there's not going to be a lot of really cutscenes, because you have like 12 characters to play as, but the game's not going to know what character you play, what character you choose. So that's why the phone is there. So when stuff does happen, they're either talking while you have them in the party, or they're talking over the phone while you have it in your party, in your inventory. You see, that is being creative. That's being thinking. That's being knowledgeable. And that was and that is inspired by a video game that you got inspired by, and you put it in something that you like. So is that a ripoff? Is that a ripoff of any of these games I just told you that inspired my game? Am I ripping them off? I'm going to keep going. I'm almost done here. There's 2 more games. Super Mario Brothers 3. That one is for the level overworld / dungeons. And then Twisted Metal is also an inspiration for two things: character selection and the car. But there's a thing with the car in my game. I try to put all my characters into one vehicle, and guess what? It crashed. The game crashed. The game crashed because I put all my characters into one vehicle. And I do mention that in my game, which is kind of funny because that's my type of game. Like I'm going to tell some of the people that are playing my game some of the truth of the development sometimes. You know, obviously it's not part of the law. Well, actually, it kind of is when you really think about it. It is part of the law. I kind of made it part of the law when you explore and talk to other people. So moving that, you see how stuff like that happens sometimes. But moving on, these games that inspired me to make my game that I want, because this is what game developers do not want to hear. And I go to more of the inspiration soon too. But this is what game developers do not want to hear. They don't want to hear video game. No. Video game companies. Let me be more precise. Video game companies do not want to hear video game developers literally saying, "I want to make a game that I want to play." They hate you saying that. They don't want you to say that. Because that changes the norm. That changes everything. Of you know how some games change the gaming industry and then everyone wants to do it? It's like that. The gaming industry is so fucking scared right now to the point that if there's something new, they're like, "Oh man, we can't compete with that because we can't do what we used to anymore, like copy and everything." And I'm over here like, "Yeah, because you have to actually work fucking harder now." Stupid thought. Stupid fucking thought, right? For crying out loud, Final Fantasy and Disney crossover. That's an inspiration right there. What do we got from that? Kingdom Hearts. Walt Disney used the Alice character, Alice in Wonderland, used the Alice character for his shorts. Is he ripping off Alice? Is he copying Alice in Wonderland? No. He just took a character that he actually was very fond of, because Alice is a great character. You could just put her in so many things. It's like Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck. You know, the only difference is that Alice needs to be in a war that doesn't make sense, basically. You know, because if you put her in a war that does make sense, it will actually not make sense. That's one of the reasons why the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie is stupid. I liked it the first time, but if you want to see my review about it, go ahead. But I liked it, the first time I watched it. But the more I thought about it, and the more I watched it too, I was just like, why? Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland? it could it could have rated itself, and it could have been a grand masterpiece, but it wasn't. If I told you the title, Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, you're gonna be like, why is that not good? It's because Tim Burton doesn't care about Alice in Wonderland. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? The most creative book out of all that Tim Burton can do, he does not give a fuck about it. I'm over here like, this story is meant for you, and you don't give a fuck about it? Good God, like, I can respect him not caring about it, that's fine. But when you look at a director or character or even a actor, and you're like, they're perfect for this role, and they're looking at it and they're like, nah, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. You over here like, what are you talking about? This was literally, you were born to do this. And then when they do it, they half-ass it. And you're over here like, what could have been? What could have been if you actually cared and loved it? You know? That's how I felt with the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie. That's why I feel like you should have gotten somebody else that actually was inspired by Alice in Wonderland and made a whole bunch of different things of Alice in Wonderland and wanted to make the movie of Alice in Wonderland. Hell, you should have got American McGee. American McGee made Alice. The American McGee games of Alice are so good. They have flaws, but they are so good. They try to bring it back, but it couldn't come back, man. It's so sad. Maybe one day it will. Maybe one day it will, but as of right now, American McGee's Alice is dead, which is sad. Because that should be that game should have at least 20 games at this point. The fact that it doesn't is stupid. Think of a game that inspired you that doesn't have nothing at all whatsoever. But some of those games inspire other games to do better. And sometimes those RPGs, like for example, there's a Final Fantasy game that took another gameplay style from another RPG game that wasn't really that popular or that famous. So you could say that it took its thunder, but you could say that too that maybe Final Fantasy grabbed that type of gameplay style just to introduce it to more people, mainly because they loved it and they were like, no, this is good, and I want people to know that this is good. You know, it's like, hey, you're little indie, you're a little indie developer type of thing. Don't worry, we got you. We're gonna use your gameplay and make it famous enough that when people do play your game, they'll be like, oh, this started here and it's really fun here. And people might think that, oh, it started on this game, but it really started on one game. That's also another pet peeve that I have too sometimes. Some people be like, oh, it actually started here. So when I play this one's complete shit. I'm like, even though it established it and they just looked at it and they just took it, yeah. I don't know. It's funny too because sometimes when you get a bad project, you have people that put their all into it, you know, and then we have good projects, people just don't put their all into it at all. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you kind of question. You're like, what happened here? What happened? Was it the studio? Was it the direction? Was it just the execution? What was it? You know, those are things that we always need to question sometimes, especially some of the stuff that we like, and then some of the stuff that inspired us too. That hey, if we put these things together that inspired us, and it doesn't really do well for outside public, then you might be like, okay, maybe it's just for a niche crowd, and that's fine. That's fine. For crying out loud, Scott Pilgrim was for a niche crowd. Now it's popular to the point that people want to see more of Scott Pilgrim. I do too. I want to see more of that character. I want to see more of that ward. I don't care if we get another fucking video game. I want more of Scott Pilgrim. Seriously. The more the better, to be quite honest with you. That's just me. You could do so many different things with that series ever since the TV show happened, the Netflix show happened. But moving on. And even Scott Pilgrim was inspired by old school video games like Super Mario Brothers, Dungeons and Dragons, not Dungeons and Dragons, but well, a little bit of that. But what is it? Double Dragon and Mega Man, you know, and Street Fighter also. So there's a lot of things that inspired Scott Pilgrim. Does Scott Pilgrim suck because it took inspiration from all these things? No. This is some of the stuff that I've been hearing sometimes in the internet, and I'm only here like, are you guys good? Are you guys good? Because it has to come to a point where when you hear this type of stuff, you always hear like, should you be even on the internet? I know some people might be like, oh, the internet should be for everybody and everything like that. It should not be for a fucking pedophile. I'll tell you that right now. Right? 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 So how come we can't do it to some of these people that are fucking piece of shit dumbasses to the point that they're ruining shit? And no, I'm not gonna call it the woke movement and shit like that because that shit died a long time ago. The fact that people still want to talk about that, I'm only here like, you're the reason why no one's not gonna watch you. Because you keep saying this woke, which it died in 2019. I mentioned that in other videos, and you guys know about it. I have to stay here and talk about that. So, I made a whole video talking about that anyways. You can just find it. So moving on. This everything that you're inspired by it was inspired by something else, right? Seriously, a lot of Looney Tunes shorts was inspired by Disney shorts. Look at one of the famous shorts of all time from Looney Tunes when they're doing the a parody of Fantasia. That's the best short that Warner Bros. Has ever done. And it's a lot better than Fantasia. And I love Fantasia. The original, not 2000. I think I watched Fantasia 2000, but I can't really remember it. But the original Fantasia, like wonderful. But when Warner Bros. Parodied that with their Looney Tune characters, I'm all like, this is better.